Guten Abend! It is time for another What Planet is Fucking Up My Shit Today. There is something dark brewing right now. And I'm not talking about, how do I say it in words that don't get me into trouble? Because, say, it's somebody who got some attention lately and they're going to be somewhat important and they have a proclivity for doing inappropriate things with furniture. Well, Mercury is going to be going retrograde, so he's not the only thing coming to fuck your couch. Now, some of you might be looking at this and saying, okay, I've heard about Mercury retrogrades. I know that they're supposed to be bad, but what exactly is Mercury retrograde, and why is it something to be afraid of? What is a retrograde to begin with? Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, you're speeding down the freeway here, and you're passing cars left and right. And even though, those cars are still moving forward, because you're going a little bit faster than them, when you're passing them, they seem to be moving backwards. So that essentially is those cars that appear to be moving backwards, we could say that those are in a retrograde course. And it's similar to the way that things work in the universe. As Earth's kind of going around the sun or things like that. The other planets, they've got their orbits around the sun. They're all going at different speeds, and the points in which Earth is kind of speeding past the other planet, if the planet, even though it's still moving forward, if it seems to be moving backwards because we're speeding past it, that's when that planet is in retrograde. Now, each planet in the universe, it's, the whole hermetic, as above, so below. I'm not going to say that there's a direct scientific correlation between the planets and our lives here, but I will say that patterns do repeat, and where we see a pattern one place, we can see that pattern usually going to be applying other places. So, ancients have been able to map these movements in the universe and different planets with similarities to human nature and patterns that exist in human nature. So these different planets and the things that they represent, when they're in a retrograde course, that means the benefits that they usually provide are going to stop, are going to cease, or are going to go backwards. Mercury is the planet of communication. Now, Mercury right now is in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius they're very wise, they're very blunt, they're very brutally honest, and they have a tendency to talk without thinking it through first. Now, Mercury is what they call in detriment when it is in Sagittarius, because Mercury's native signs are going to be Virgo and Gemini. Sagittarius is the opposite sign of Gemini. So this is an uncomfortable place for Mercury to be to begin with. Mercury likes to be methodical. Mercury likes to think things through. Mercury likes to have a game plan when it goes in to have a difficult conversation with somebody. Sagittarius just blurts shit out and doesn't care if they hurt your feelings. They say what they think needs to be said, and if you don't like it, well, then that's your problem. Now, while this is also going on, we have some underlying things going on in the background. We have Venus, which is in Capricorn. That's going to be once again, wanting to be very methodical about relationships, going to be very pragmatic, very goal-oriented. And that's got a square to some lesser-known players in the universe right now. That's tomorrow, when Mercury retrograde hits, Venus is also going to be going square to Lilith. Now, Lilith is, it's the dark moon. It's supposed to be the deep, dark sexual desires and passion and relationships and things like that. So that energy squaring off with that Libra Lilith. So there's going to be some strain when it comes to people's relationships and their love lives. And then later on in the week, that same Venus in Capricorn is going to be going square to Chiron. Now, Chiron is supposed to be like an asteroid that's, Chiron, it's that, you heard the joke about the centaur of disease control. It's supposed to be that wounded healer. It's supposed to represent wounds and traumas that need to be healed. So while this Mercury retrograde is going on, there's going to be some relationship turmoil going on and some difficult conversations that are needed to be held, because there are traumas surrounding your relationships that are going to need to be addressed and be healed during this retrograde cycle. This is going to be further made to be a pain in the ass come December. Now, the Mercury retrograde, that's going to end December 15th, but December 6th, we're going to have an overlap with Mars. That's the planet of passion and ambition, and that's, all of your kind of amygdala processes, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. That's going into the sign of Leo, which is slightly narcissistic. It wants to be the center of attention. It needs attention, it needs praise, it needs recognition. Now, when we have that two fire signs kind of overlapping with retrograding planets, this is a lot of chaos for the holiday season, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with this whole retrograde process starting the week of Thanksgiving. So yeah, there's probably going to be some Thanksgiving fistfights that are going to go down here. So let's talk game plan real quick, so you know what to do. Now, if you're a fire sign, that's going to be whether it's your sun sign or your rising sign. So this is going to be Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. This is a bad time to be starting anything and a bad time to be trying to finish anything. So if you're in a relationship, don't get out of your relationship. Do not break up during Mercury retrograde, and also do not start a new relationship during this retrograde cycle. There's shit that needs to be sorted out, and you got to be able to keep a level head. The important thing during this retrograde process is, there's all of this fire energy. It's going to be testing you. You're gonna want to cut a bitch, and you need to do everything you can to make sure that doesn't happen. You need to actively listen. You need to try to be cool. You need to be calm. You need to be collected, and you need to think before you speak. And if you try to start a new relationship or anything like that, during this process, then, they call it cuffing season for a reason. Expect that to be over by spring with more trauma and bullshit you're going to have to sort out later. Air signs, that's going to be Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. You want to make shit happen. You want to make sure that you're being heard. You want to make sure that people are listening to your ideas and taking the advice and the information you're giving them to heart. Well, they're not. You may get a little butthurt. You might feel a little bit ignored. You might feel like people just don't give a shit about your existence during this time. Try not to take it personally. Everybody else has got their own shit going on. It's just bad fucking timing. Expect that, your day in the sun will come, but right now, you need to lay low a little bit and hang on to those good ideas that you have until the retrograde process is over. So, spring. Earth signs, that's going to be Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. So you're going to see, you want things to make sense. You want to have your plans, your process, your schedules, and that's all going to be going to shit. It's going to be all over the place. You're probably going to be the person in the kitchen during Thanksgiving who has to cook everything, and the turkey is still going to be frozen by the time the guests arrive, and all of that kind of bullshit. So just expect that shit's going to go down, and you got to have a backup plan to your backup plan. That's just how the universe is going to roll. So water signs, it's going to be Pisces and Scorpio and Cancer. Emotions are going to be all over the place, and right now, all of that fire energy versus your water energy, that's an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. You might alternate between dissociative episodes and just violent fits of mania. See, but here's the thing. It's you can feel those emotions, you can acknowledge those emotions without having to act out on those emotions. So you need to do your best in order to make sure that you are not acting out on all of the strong emotions that you're going to be feeling, or the opposite, just doing all you can to try to just numb them out. Booze will make everything worse. Now, some open, honest, empathic communication between all parties here, that's what's truly going to be needed in order to be able to get everybody to survive this. Keep in mind now, with Pluto having moved from Capricorn into Aquarius, we can't be thinking me any longer. We need to be approaching everything with we. So what are we going to do? What is our plan going to be? Fire and air signs in particular, you need to check your ego at the door if you're going to survive this. Peace.